What is up, guys? Heath with Lake Champlain Sanitation here. This week we're going to be bringing you a video on how to scale, how I scaled my company, and just some recommendations from me on how I think you should do it if you're a one-man show, starting with little to no money such as I did, and how to not get too excited, but at the same time still say yes to the right customers to grow your business as profitable as possible. Let's get into it. So to start, guys, I got some news. Redoing my logo. I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments below. I just got it on my pit bike here. We threw some graphics on this. There's a better shot of it. As you can see, LCS in big letters. Gonna be thinking about putting this on the new truck when it comes in. That's about 3 weeks out right now. And then, so let me know what you guys think about the new logo. Thinking it's a little bit cleaner, a little easier to read. The carts will stay the same, but I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments. I just want to say thanks. First and foremost, guys, we're up to like 160 something subscribers now from just 100 a couple weeks ago. It's slow but steady growth, and I really appreciate it. I will say I've been taking a lot of phone calls from subscribers. I've had a few emails, a few Instagram messages. Instagram is LC Sanitation, Lake Champlain Sanitation. The email is lcsanitation@gmail. And then my personal Instagram, if you just type in Heath Andre, is right on, my regular Instagram. So feel free to send me messages, guys. I have been thinking about, and I've had a couple people mention doing some consulting, coaching calls in the dumpster rental business. If that's something that you guys have any interest in, let me know. Just because if I can help you in any way and it can benefit us both and we can make a networking connection, that'd be awesome. Hit me up with an email or a message. I do want to kind of get away from the phone calls. If you could just message me maybe first, because I do get a lot of calls from out of state, and I'll be honest with you, I usually don't answer them because I think it's spam. So but if you can shoot me a message and then we can talk from there, that'd be awesome. And guys, I just want to put a little short clip in. It's kind of funny from, I think it was maybe Tuesday of last week. I specifically took this little short video in the landfill. I had someone riding with me so I could show you how muddy it really is where we go. I'll drop that here so you can see what we have to deal with and why these trucks usually have to be four-wheel drive, a little different than some landfills across the country. So guys, this is our landfill for some of you that were asking. We can't take much for videos in here, but this is the kind of crap that you're gonna deal with in the dumpster rental business. Oh yeah. Gotta have a good set of tires. We're doing residential today. Did dumpsters yesterday, but I wanted to put this quick clip in for next week's video, which will be coming out on Saturday. Recording this today so you guys got some footage of that. So scaling your business and basically when you should and shouldn't say yes to the customer. Not saying that you should say no to a lot of people, just sometimes in the garbage industry and the dumpster rental business, you start saying yes to too many customers without doing your due diligence on Google Maps or to see if it fits into your route. You could be actually costing yourself more money than you could be making if you were to just hold off, market a little more aggressively in a different area, and pick up some customers that are more profitable to you. So a prime example of this, guys, is when I started, that little route that I told you guys about, that thing spanned more miles than I actually had customers. So naturally it was not very profitable from a route standpoint of time. The gas, wasn't crazy expensive, but it comes down to your time. If you can fit 20 or 30 accounts in an hour, but you're only doing 10 because you said yes to everyone that called you, and those 10 took you 11 miles to get to, because as we are in a rural area up here, if you're doing 10 customers in 11 miles, but those other 20 are in 2 miles, but it took you a few more months to obtain those, that is where I learned to sometimes say no to customers outside of your current service area, unless they're within a quarter or half mile out of it, to just not be wasting your time on the not so profitable accounts, at least in the beginning. So to get back to the dumpster rental side of things, just for what I do, guys, and this really is gonna depend on your area. I'm sure in the cities it's naturally slower because of traffic. We don't really have that up here. I mean, As you can see, it's a 2-lane road behind me, 55-mile-an-hour zone. I mean, that's how most of the roads are up here. I would say if you're going to go, I'd really have to look at the area, but if it's going to take you more than, an hour round trip to go there, drop the dumpster and come back, you realistically should be upcharging that rental. Now, how much is up to you, but that's just what I do. I mean, I try to do 5 rentals in a day. Sometimes like on a Monday and a Friday, I'll pick 5 up, dump 5, and then drop them back off if there's rentals, or get them back to the yard if there isn't rentals. And that's a pretty good rule of thumb. If you were doing that every day, I mean, you'd be rocking and rolling if it was just you. But yeah, if, let's say rental is going to take you an hour and a half each way to get to, even if that's only going to be 15 miles due to the traffic. And that's going to cut into your capabilities of doing other rentals that day. You have to upcharge for that. So when it comes to dumpster rentals, guys, that first part was obviously for residential. If you have a dumpster rental that's a couple miles out of your current service area, say if you're servicing 20 miles around your area or 25 miles and you have a guy that's 27 miles out, of course you're going to want to take that rental. But when it starts becoming 50, 75, even 80 miles out of your route, you really have to be careful, because you have to take into consideration the wear and tear on the vehicle, whether you're using a trailer like I am and the truck, or just a hook lift or roll off truck like a lot of people do. You obviously want to charge accordingly for that. And I would say I would cap that to maybe 75 or 80 miles. I've yet to do one that far. I think the furthest I've done is maybe 63 miles one way, but it was over twice of what a dumpster rental would be if, say, it's within 15 or 20 miles of where I work out of. So saying no or having to potentially drop clients is probably the hardest thing in any business. Dropping them is obviously way worse than just saying no up front. Luckily, I probably only had to quote unquote, I want to say I dropped them. I gave them a recommendation to another garbage company. And I'd already contacted the garbage company and said, hey, look, for these contacts, will you pay me X amount to technically like buy the contacts, these customers, and then go to the customers, okay it with them, and then go back to the company. It's not a great process. Might make you a few bucks instead of just losing the account. But yeah, just try not to do that. I'm hoping this video will help you with that. Like I said, it's better off to just say no from the get-go than to get into it and realize 2 months down the road, especially in the winter up here when everything slows down and it takes you longer to do a route, that account's actually costing you money every month, not making you any money. So yeah, in closing, guys, 3 tips really for each side of the business. On the dumpster rental side, tip number 1, if you're over that 25 mile, or we're just going to say if you're over that hour round trip to make it easy for the miles, if you're over that hour round trip, get that upcharge. Could be $10, could be $50, but it's a little more money in your pocket. It'll cover your fuel and cover your hours. And if you got, employees, obviously the numbers are different, but this is speaking from a one-man band, standpoint. So tip number 1, upcharge if it's over an hour round trip to drop it off and, pick it up. Not counting the dump, of course, because we don't know how long that's going to be. But okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is if it's so far out of your service area, no matter what the price is, if it's not going to make sense, if it's 150 miles out of your area, another business is going to quote that better. So I just straight up, and I've got those. I've had quotes from across the state before. It's just not feasible. It's not realistic. You may run into out of county fees, which we have here if you dump things from so far away. So there's just a lot of bad stuff. I mean, just do your due diligence and your marketing in your area, and you should be able to really crush it in the business once you get that marketing down. And tip number 3 for dumpster rentals, and just not buying, and I didn't talk about this a lot in the video, but just not buying too many too fast without the right plan. I've told you how I've bought one at a time. Then, it was one per month for a few months, and then I took a couple months off and then bought another one, but I bought them all outright. So that's just the way I go about it. You don't have to start out with 50 dumpsters and no plan on what to do. That'll just be a bad day, and the business probably won't be around too long. And as for residential, 3 tips on that. I would say tip number 1, in the beginning, kind of got to take what you can get. as long as it's feasible. If it is a couple miles out of your area and you are literally starting from complete scratch, like I said, I started with 40 or 50 accounts that I purchased. But if you're starting from complete scratch, guys, and you really want to do this and you have low overhead from a standpoint of like you don't have any payments on anything and you're just going to go out there and get it, and your stops are 2 to 3 miles apart from each other and that's the only way you can do it, give it a shot. I really did do that from like the 40 to 80 or 100 stop range. I was doing it. I didn't know any better. And I'm still here and doing a lot better now, but I made it through all that. Tip number 2, just watch your miles on your vehicles. You really want to just watch them for the depreciation, A, in the value of the vehicle, and B, you're going to be beating them up. So if you're going to have payments on stuff, you obviously want to keep the value or whatever you owe on it lower than how fast you're depreciating it, because the amount of miles you put on trucks in the garbage industry, whether you use a dump trailer, a dump truck, a packer truck, you can add the miles up fast in these rural areas up here or anywhere in the country where you got to drive more than just a city that's a couple miles wide. And I would say for tip number 3, arms getting sore on the gimbal here. Tip number 3, guys, would really just have to be know when to say no. Whether that's 6 months in or a year in, have a solid point where you're going to say, okay, if a customer's not within a quarter or a half a mile outside of my route, if they're not going to fit the criteria, I'm just going to have to say no, and you're going to have to be, okay with that. And a lot of customers will understand. The biggest thing to do, and some of you might not agree with this, but I always give a recommendation to a company that I know goes in that area. Now, could I go out of my way and just take the business and just not ever recommend anybody? Sure. But in the long run, I don't see that. You're not going to get 7, 8, 900 accounts that you can service in 4 days or 3 days or make your life the way you want if you're driving all over the place just for that extra few accounts. So give the recommendation. It's better than just giving them a cold no. And they'll remember you for next time. Maybe if you get into something else or you go into that area, they hear about you and they could switch down the road. So those are 3 tips for each, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys like the channel, like the videos, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We'll be coming back at you here. And as always, thanks for watching.